The Law of One, Book I, Session 5. January 23, 1981. R.A. I am R.A. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. I communicate now. Questioner, the last time that we communicated, we were speaking of the learning of healing. It is my impression from what you gave to us in the earlier session that it is necessary to first purify the self by certain disciplines and exercises. Then, in order to heal a patient, it is necessary, by example, and possibly certain exercises, to create the mental configuration in the patient that allows him to heal himself. Am I correct? R.A. I am R.A. Although your learn/understanding distortion is essentially correct, your choice of vibratory/sound complex is not entirely as accurate as this language allows. It is not by example that the healer does the working. The working exists in and of itself. The healer is only the catalyst, much as this instrument has the catalysis necessary to provide the channel for our words, yet by example or exercise of any kind can take no thought for this working. The healing/working is congruent in that it is a form of channeling some distortion of the intelligent infinity. Questioner, we have decided to accept, if offered, the honor/duty of learning/teaching the healing process. I would ask as to the first step which we should accomplish in becoming effective healers. R.A. I am R.A. We shall begin with the first of the three teachings/learnings. We begin with the mental learn/teaching necessary for contact with intelligent infinity. The prerequisite of mental work is the ability to retain silence of self at a steady state when required by the self. The mind must be opened like a door. The key is silence. Within the door lies an hierarchical construction you may liken unto geography and in some ways geometry, for the hierarchy is quite regular, bearing interrelationships. To begin to master the concept of mental disciplines, it is necessary to examine the self. The polarity of your dimension must be internalized. Where you find patience within your mind, you must consciously find the corresponding impatience, and vice versa. Each thought of being has in its turn an antithesis. The disciplines of the mind involve, first of all, identifying both those things of which you approve and those things of which you disapprove within yourself, and then balancing each and every positive and negative charge with its equal. The mind contains all things. Therefore, you must discover this completeness within yourself. The second mental discipline is acceptance of the completeness within your consciousness. It is not for a being of polarity in the physical consciousness to pick and choose among attributes, thus building the roles that cause blockages and confusions in the already distorted mind complex. Each acceptance smooths part of the many distortions that the faculty you call judgment engenders. The third discipline of the mind is a repetition of the first, but with the gaze outward toward the fellow entities that it meets. In each entity there exists completeness. Thus, the ability to understand each balance is necessary. When you view patience, you are responsible for mirroring, in your mental understandings, patience/impatience. When you view impatience, it is necessary for your mental configuration of understanding to be impatience/patience. We use this as a simple example. Most configurations of mind have many facets, and understanding of either self-polarities, or what you would call other self-polarities, can and must be understood as subtle work. The next step is the acceptance of the other self-polarities, which mirrors the second step. These are the first four steps of learning mental disciplines. The fifth step involves observing the geographical and geometrical relationships and ratios of the mind, the other mind, the mass mind, and the infinite mind. The second area of learn/teaching is the study/understanding of the body complexes. It is necessary to know your body well. This is a matter of using the mind to examine how the feelings, the biases, what you would call the emotions, affect various portions of the body complex. It shall be necessary to both understand the bodily polarity and to accept them, repeating in a chemical/physical manifestation the work you have done upon the mind bethinking the consciousness. The body is a creature of the mind's creation. It has its biases. The biological bias must be first completely understood and then the opposite bias allowed to find full expression in understanding. Again, the process of acceptance of the body as a balanced, as well as polarized, individual may then be accomplished. It is then the task to extend this understanding to the bodies of the other selves whom you will meet. The simplest example of this is the understanding that each biological male is female, each biological female is male. This is a simple example. However, in almost every case wherein you are attempting the understanding of the body of self or other self, you will again find that the most subtle discernment is necessary in order to fully grasp the polarity complexes involved. At this time, we would suggest closing the description until the next time of work so that we may devote time to the third area commensurate with its importance. We can answer a query if it is a short one before we leave this instrument. Questioner, is the instrument comfortable? Is there anything that we can do to increase the comfort of the instrument? IMRA. The candle could be rotated clockwise approximately 10 degrees each session to improve the flow of spiraled energy through the being's receiving mechanisms. This particular configuration is well otherwise. But we ask that the objects described and used be centered with geometric care and checked from time to time. Also that they not be exposed to that space/time in which work is not of importance. IMRA. I leave this instrument in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. 97. The Law of One, Book I, Session 6. January 24, 1981. IMRA. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. I communicate now. Questioner, we would like to continue the material from yesterday. IMRA. This is well with us. We proceed now with the third part of the teach/learning concerning the development of the energy powers of healing. The third area is the spiritual complex, which embodies the fields of force and consciousness, which are the least distorted of your mind/body/spirit complex. The exploration and balancing of the spirit complex is indeed the longest and most subtle part of your learn/teaching. We have considered the mind as a tree. The mind controls the body. With the mind single-pointed, balanced, and aware, the body comfortable in whatever biases and distortions make it appropriately balanced for that instrument, the instrument is then ready to proceed with the greater work. That is the work of wind and fire. The spiritual body energy field is a pathway, or channel. When body and mind are receptive and open, then the spirit can become a functioning shuttle or communicator from the entity's individual energy/will upwards, and from the streamings of the creative fire and wind downwards. The healing ability, like all other, what this instrument would call, paranormal abilities, is affected by the opening of a pathway or shuttle into intelligent infinity. There are many upon your plane who have a random hole or gateway in their spirit energy field, sometimes created by the ingestion of chemicals such as, what this instrument would call LSD, who are able, randomly and without control, to tap into energy sources. They may or may not be entities who wish to serve. The purpose of carefully and consciously opening this channel is to serve in a more dependable way, in a more commonplace or usual way, as seen by the distortion complex of the healer. To others there may appear to be miracles. To the one who has carefully opened the door to intelligent infinity, this is ordinary, this is commonplace, this is as it should be. The life experience becomes somewhat transformed. The great work goes on. At this time we feel these exercises suffice for your beginning. We will, at a future time, when you feel you have accomplished that which is set before you, begin to guide you into a more precise understanding of the functions and uses of this gateway in the experience of healing. Questioner, I think this might be an appropriate time to include a little more background on yourself, possibly information having to do with where you came from prior to your involvement with planet Earth, if this is possible. IMRA. I am, with the social memory complex of which I am a part, one of those who voyaged outward from another planet within your own solar system, as this entity would call it. The planetary influence was that you call Venus. We are a race old in your measures. When we were at the sixth dimension, our physical beings were what you would call golden. We were tall and somewhat delicate. Our physical body complex covering, which you call the integument, had a golden luster. In this form we decided to come among your peoples. Your peoples at that time were much unlike us in physical appearance, as you might call it. We, thus, did not mix well with the population and were obviously other than they. Thus, our visit was relatively short, for we found ourselves in the hypocritical position of being acclaimed as other than your other selves. This was the time during which we built the structures in which you show interest. Questioner, how did you journey from Venus to this planet? IMRA. We use thought. Questioner, would it have been possible to have taken one of the people of this planet at that time and placed him on Venus? Would he have survived? Were conditions on Venus hospitable? IMRA. The third density conditions are not hospitable to the life forms of your peoples. The fifth and sixth dimensions of that planetary sphere are quite conducive to growing/learning/teaching. Questioner, how were you able to make the transition from Venus? Did you have to change your dimension to walk upon the Earth? IMRA. You will remember the exercise of the wind. The dissolution into nothingness is the dissolution into unity, for there is no nothingness. From the sixth dimension, we are capable of manipulating, by thought, the intelligent infinity present in each particle of light or distorted light so that we were able to clothe ourselves in a replica visible in the third density of our mind/body/spirit complexes in the sixth density. We were allowed this experiment by the council which guards this planet. Questioner, where is this council located? IMRA. This council is located in the octave, or eighth dimension, of the planet Saturn, taking its place in an area which you understand in third dimension terms as the rings. Questioner, are there any people such as you find on Earth on any of the other planets in our solar system? IMRA. Do you request space/time present information or space/time continuum information? Questioner, both. IMRA. At one time/space, in what is your past, there was a population of third density beings upon a planet which dwelt within your solar system. There are various names by which this planet has been named. The vibratory sound complex most usually used by your peoples is Maldek. These entities, destroying their planetary sphere, thus were forced to find room for themselves upon this third density, which is the only one in your solar system at their time/space present which was hospitable and capable of offering the lessons necessary to decrease their mind/body/spirit distortions with respect to the law of one. Questioner, how did they come here? IMRA. They came through the process of harvest and were incarnated through the processes of incarnation from your higher spheres within this density. Questioner, how long ago did this happen? IMRA. I am having difficulty communicating with this instrument. We must deepen her state. This occurred approximately 500,000 of your years ago. Questioner, is all of the Earth's human population then originally from Maldek? IMRA. This is a new line of questioning, and deserves a place of its own. The ones who were harvested to your sphere from the sphere known before its dissolution as other names, but to your peoples as Maldek, incarnated, many within your Earth's surface rather than upon it. The population of your planet contains many various groups harvested from other second dimension and cycled third dimension spheres. You are not all one race or background of beginning. The experience you share is unique to this time/space continuum. Questioner, I think that it would be appropriate to discover how the law of one acts in this transfer of beings to our planet and the action of harvest? IMRA. The law of one states simply that all things are one, that all beings are one. There are certain behaviors and thought forms consonant with the understanding and practice of this law. Those who, finishing a cycle of experience, demonstrate grades of distortion of that understanding of thought and action will be separated by their own choice into the vibratory distortion most comfortable to their mind/body/spirit complexes. This process is guarded or watched by those nurturing beings who, being very close to the law of one in their distortions, nevertheless, move towards active service. Thus, the illusion is created of light, or more properly but less understandably, light/love. This is in varying degrees of intensity. The spirit complex of each harvested entity moves along the line of light until the light grows too glaring, at which time the entity stops. This entity may have barely reached third density or may be very, very close to the ending of the third density light/love distortion vibratory complex. Nevertheless, those who fall within this octave of intensifying light/love then experience a major cycle during which there are opportunities for the discovery of the distortions which are inherent in each entity and, therefore, the lessening of these distortions. Questioner: what is the length, in our years, of one of these cycles? IMRA. One major cycle is approximately 25,000 of your years. There are 3 cycles of this nature during which those who have progressed may be harvested at the end of 3 major cycles. That is, approximately between 75 and 76,000 of your years. All are harvested regardless of their progress, for during that time the planet itself has moved through the useful part of that dimension and begins to cease being useful for the lower levels of vibration within that density. Questioner: what is the position of this planet with respect to the progression of cycles at this time? IMRA. This sphere is at this time in 4th dimension vibration. Its material is quite confused due to the society memory complexes embedded in its consciousness. It has not made an easy transition to the vibrations which beckon. Therefore, it will be fetched with some inconvenience. Questioner: is this inconvenience imminent within a few years? IMRA. This inconvenience, or disharmonious vibratory complex, has begun several of your years in your past. It shall continue unabated for a period of approximately 30 of your years. Questioner: after this period of 30 years I am assuming that this will be a 4th density planet. Is this correct? IMRA. This is so. Questioner: is it possible to estimate what % of the present population will inhabit the 4th density planet? IMRA. The harvesting is not yet, thus, estimation is meaningless. Questioner: does the fact that we are in this transition period now have anything to do with the reason that you have made your information available to the population? IMRA. We have walked among your people. We remember sorrow, have seen much. We have searched for an instrument of the proper parameters of distortion in mind/body/spirit complex and supporting an understanding of mind/body/spirit complexes to accept this information with minimal distortion and maximal desire to serve for some of your years. The answer, in short, is yes. However, we wished you to know that in our memory we thank you. Questioner: the disc-shaped craft that we call UFOs, some have been said to have come from the planet Venus. Would any of these be your craft? IMRA. We have used crystals for many purposes. The craft of which you speak have not been used by us in your space/time present memory complex. However, we have used crystals and the bell shape in the past of your illusion. Questioner: how many years in the past did you use the bell-shaped craft to come to Earth? IMRA. We visited your peoples 18,000 of your years ago and did not land, again, 11,000 years ago. Questioner: photographs of bell-shaped craft and reports of contact of such from Venus exist from less than 30 years ago. Do you have any knowledge of these reports? IMRA. We have knowledge of oneness with these forays of your time/space present. We are no longer of Venus. However, there are thought forms created among your peoples from our time of walking among you. The memory and thought forms created, therefore, are a part of your society memory complex. This mass consciousness, as you may call it, creates the experience once more for those who request such experience. The present Venus population is no longer 6th density. Questioner: do any of the UFOs presently reported at this time come from other planets, or do you have this knowledge? IMRA. I am one of the members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the infinite Creator. There are approximately 53 civilizations, comprising approximately 500 planetary consciousness complexes in this confederation. This confederation contains those from your own planet who have attained dimensions beyond your 3rd. It contains planetary entities within your solar system, and it contains planetary entities from other galaxies. Point 1. It is a true confederation in that its members are not alike, but allied in service according to the law of one. Questioner: do any of them come here at this time in spacecraft? In the past, say, 30 years? IMRA. We must state that this information is unimportant. If you will understand this, we feel that the information may be acceptably offered. The law of one is what we are here to express. However, we will speak upon this subject. Each planetary entity which wishes to appear within your third dimension of space/time distortion requests permission to break quarantine, as you may call it, and appear to your peoples. The reason and purpose for this appearance is understood and either accepted or rejected. There have been as many as 15 of the Confederation entities in your skies at any one time. The others are available to you through thought. At present, there are 7 which are operating with craft in your density. Their purposes are very simple: to allow those entities of your planet to become aware of infinity, which is often best expressed to the uninformed as the mysterious or unknown. Questioner: I am fully aware that you are primarily interested in disseminating information concerning the law of one. However, it is my judgment, and I could be wrong, that in order to disseminate this material it will be necessary to include questions such as the one I have just asked. If this is not the objective, then I could limit my questions to the application of the law of one. But I understand that at this time it is the objective to widely disseminate this material. Is this correct? I am RA. This perception is only slightly distorted in your understand/learning. We wish you to proceed as you deem proper. That is your place. We, in giving this information, find our distortion of understanding of our purpose to be that not only of the offering of information, but the weighting of it according to our distorted perceptions of its relative importance. Thus, you will find our statements, at times, to be those which imply that a question is unimportant. This is due to our perception that the given question is unimportant. Nevertheless, unless the question contains the potential for answer giving which may infringe upon free will, we offer our answers. Questioner: thank you very much. We do not want to overtire the instrument. We have gone considerably over our normal working time. Could you tell me what condition the instrument is in? I am RA. The instrument is balanced due to your care. However, her physical vehicle is growing stiff. Questioner: in that case perhaps we should continue at a later time. I am RA. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. 104. The Law of One, Book I, Session 7. January 25, 1981. I am RA. I greet you in the love and the light of our infinite Creator. I communicate now. Questioner: you mentioned that there were a number of members of the Confederation of Planets. What avenues of service, or types of service, are available to the members of the Confederation? I am RA. I am assuming that you intend the service which we of the Confederation can offer, rather than the service which is available to our use. The service available for our offering to those who call us is equivalent to the square of the distortion/need of that calling divided by, or integrated with, the basic law of one in its distortion, indicating the free will of those who are not aware of the unity of creation. Questioner: from this, I am assuming that the difficulty that you have in contacting this planet at this time is the mixture of people here, some being aware of the unity, and some not, and for this reason you cannot come openly or give proof of your contact. Is this correct? I am RA. As we just repeated through this instrument, we must integrate all of the portions of your social memory complex in its illusory disintegration form. Then the product of this can be seen as the limit of our ability to serve. We are fortunate that the law of service squares the desires of those who call. Otherwise, we would have no beingness in this time/space at this present continuum of the illusion. In short, you are basically correct. The thought of not being able is not a part of our basic thought form complex towards your peoples, but rather it is a maximal consideration of what is possible. Questioner: I squared, do you mean that if 10 people call you can count that, when comparing it to the planetary ratio, as 100 people, squaring 10 and getting 100? I am RA. This is incorrect. The square is sequential 1, 2, 3, 4, each squared by the next number. Questioner: if only 10 entities on Earth required your services, how would you compute their calling by using this square method? I am RA. We would square 110 sequential times, raising the number to the 10th square. Questioner: what would be the result of this calculation? I am RA. The result is difficult to transmit. It is 1012, approximately. The entities who call are sometimes not totally unified in their calling and, thus, the squaring slightly less. Thus, there is a statistical loss over a period of call. However, perhaps you may see by this statistically corrected information the squaring mechanism. Questioner, about how many entities at present on planet Earth are calling for your services? RA, I am RA. I am called personally by 352,000. The Confederation, in its entire spectrum of entity complexes, is called by 632 million of your mind/body/spirit complexes. These numbers have been simplified. Questioner, can you tell me what the result of the application of the law of squares is to those figures? RA, I am RA. The number is approximately meaningless in the finite sense as there are many, many digits. It, however, constitutes a great calling which we of all creation feel and hear as if our own entities were distorted towards a great and overwhelming sorrow. It demands our service. Questioner, at what point would this calling be great enough for you to come openly among the people on Earth? How many entities on Earth would have to call the Confederation? RA, I am RA. We do not calculate the possibility of coming among your peoples by the numbers of calling, but by a consensus among an entire societal memory complex which has become aware of the infinite consciousness of all things. This has been possible among your peoples only in isolated instances. In the case wherein a social memory complex which is a servant of the Creator sees this situation and has an idea for the appropriate aid which can only be done among your peoples, the social memory complex desiring this project lays it before the Council of Saturn. If it is approved, quarantine is lifted. Questioner, I have a question about that council. Who are the members, and how does the council function? RA, I am RA. The members of the council are representatives from the Confederation and from those vibratory levels of your inner planes bearing responsibility for your third density. The names are not important because there are no names. Your mind/body/spirit complexes request names, and so, in many cases, the vibratory sound complexes which are consonant with the vibratory distortions of each entity are used. However, the name concept is not part of the council. If names are requested, we will attempt them. However, not all have chosen names. In number, the council that sits in constant session, though varying in its members by means of balancing, which takes place, what you would call irregularly, is 9. That is the session council. To back up this council, there are 24 entities which offer their services as requested. These entities faithfully watch and have been called guardians. The council operates by means of what you would call telepathic contact with the oneness or unity of the 9, the distortions blending harmoniously so that the law of one prevails with ease. When a need for thought is present, the council retains the distortion complex of this need, balancing it as described, and then recommends what it considers as appropriate action. This includes 1. The duty of admitting social memory complexes to the Confederation, 2. Offering aid to those who are unsure how to aid the social memory complex requesting aid in a way consonant with both the call, the law, and the number of those calling, that is to say, sometimes the resistance of the call. 3. Internal questions in the council are determined. These are the prominent duties of the council. They are, if in any doubt, able to contact the 24 who then offer consensus/judgment/thinking to the council. The council then may reconsider any question. Questioner, you mentioned the 9 who sit on the council. Is this 9 the same 9 as those mentioned in this book? Questioner gestures to Yuri. RA, I am RA. The Council of 9 has been retained in semi-undistorted form by 2 main sources, that known in your naming, as Mark, and that known in your naming as Henry. In one case, the channel became the scribe. In the other, the channel was not the scribe. However, without the aid of the scribe, the energy would not have come to the channel. Questioner, the names that you spoke of, were they Mark Probert and Henry Puharich? RA, I am RA. This is correct. Questioner, I am interested in the application of the law of one as it pertains to free will with respect to what I would call the advertising done by UFO contacts with the planet Earth. The Council seems to have allowed the quarantine to be lifted many times over the past 30 years. This seems to me to be a form of advertising for what we are doing right now, so that more people will be awakened. Am I correct? RA, I am RA. It will take a certain amount of untangling of conceptualization of your mental complex to reform your query into an appropriate response. Please bear with us. The Council of Saturn has not allowed the breaking of quarantine in the time/space continuum you mentioned. There is a certain amount of landing taking place. Some are of the entities known to you as the group of Orion. Secondly, there is permission granted, not to break quarantine by dwelling among you, but to appear in thought form capacity for those who have eyes to see. Thirdly, you are correct in assuming that permission was granted at the time/space in which your first nuclear device was developed and used for Confederation members to minister to your peoples in such a way as to cause mystery to occur. This is what you mean by advertising and is correct. The mystery and unknown quality of the occurrences we are allowed to offer have the hoped for intention of making your peoples aware of infinite possibility. When your peoples grasp infinity, then and only then, can the gateway be opened to the law of one. Questioner, you said that Orion was the source of some of these contacts with UFOs. Can you tell me something of that contact, its purpose? IMRA, consider, if you will, a simple example of intentions which are bad/good. This example is Adolf. This is your vibratory sound complex. The intention is to presumably unify by choosing the distortion complex called elite from a social memory complex and then enslaving, by various effects, those who are seen by the distortion as not elite. There is then the concept of taking the social memory complex thus weeded and adding it to a distortion thought of by the so-called Orion group as an empire. The problem facing them is that they face a great deal of random energy released by the concept of separation. This causes them to be vulnerable as the distortions amongst their own members are not harmonized. Questioner, what is the density of the Orion group? IMRA. Like the Confederation, densities of the mass consciousnesses which comprise that group are varied. There are a very few third density, a larger number of fourth density, a similarly large number of fifth density, and very few sixth density entities comprising this organization. Their numbers are perhaps 1/10 hours at any point in the space/time continuum as the problem of spiritual entropy causes them to experience constant disintegration of their social memory complexes. Their power is the same as ours. The law of one blinks neither at the light nor the darkness, but is available for service to others and service to self. However, service to others results in service to self, thus preserving and further harmonizing the distortions of those entities seeking intelligent infinity through these disciplines. Those seeking intelligent infinity through the use of service to self create the same amount of power but, as we said, have constant difficulty because of the concept of separation which is implicit in the manifestations of the service to self which involve power over others. This weakens and eventually disintegrates the energy collected by such mind/body/spirit complexes who call the Orion group and the social memory complexes which comprise the Orion group. It should be noted, carefully pondered, and accepted, that the law of one is available to any social memory complex which has decided to strive together for any seeking of purpose, be it service to others or service to self. The laws, which are the primal distortions of the law of one, then are placed into operation and the illusion of space/time is used as a medium for the development of the results of those choices freely made. Thus all entities learn, no matter what they seek. All learn the same, some rapidly, some slowly. Questioner, using as an example the fifth density concerning the social memory complex of the Orion group, what was their previous density before they became fifth density? IMRA. The progress through densities is sequential. A fifth density social memory complex would be comprised of mind/body/spirit complexes harvested from fourth density. Then the conglomerate or mass mind/body/spirit complex does its melding and the results are due to the infinitely various possibilities of combinations of distortions. Questioner, I'm trying to understand how a group such as the Orion group would progress. How it would be possible, if you were in the Orion group, and pointed towards self-service, to progress from our third density to the fourth. What learning would be necessary for that? IMRA. This is the last question of length for this instrument at this time. You will recall that we went into some detail as to how those not oriented towards seeking service for others yet, nevertheless, found and could use the gateway to intelligent infinity. This is true at all densities in our octave. We cannot speak for those above us, as you would say, in the next quantum or octave of beingness. This is, however, true of this octave of density. The beings are harvested because they can see and enjoy the light/love of the appropriate density. Those who have found this light/love, love/light without benefit of a desire for service to others nevertheless, by the law of free will, have the right to the use of that light/love for whatever purpose. Also, it may be inserted that there are systems of study which enable the seeker of separation to gain these gateways. This study is as difficult as the one which we have described to you, but there are those with the perseverance to pursue the study just as you desire to pursue the difficult path of seeking to know in order to serve. The distortion lies in the effect that those who seek to serve the self are seen by the law of one as precisely the same as those who seek to serve others, for are all not one? To serve yourself and to serve others is a dual method of saying the same thing, if you can understand the essence of the law of one. At this time, we would answer any brief questions you may have. Questioner, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable? RA. There are small adjustments you may make. However, we are now able to use this instrument with minimal distortion and without depleting the instrument to any significant extent. Do you wish to ask further? Questioner, we do not wish to tire the instrument. Thank you very much. That was very helpful, and we would like to continue in the next session from this point. RA. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. 110. The Law of One, Book I, Session 8. February 26, 1981. RA. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. I communicate now. Questioner, I have a question regarding what I call the advertising of the Confederation. It has to do with free will. There have been certain contacts allowed, as I understand, by the Confederation, but this is limited because of free will of those who are not oriented in such a way as to want contact. Many people on our planet want this material, but even though we disseminate it, many will not be aware that it is available. Is there any possibility of creating some effect which I would call advertising, or is this against the principle of free will? RA. Consider, if you will, the path your life experience complex has taken. Consider the coincidences and odd circumstances by which one thing flowed to the next. Consider this well. Each entity will receive the opportunity that each needs. This information source beingness does not have uses in the life experience complex of each of those among your peoples who seek. Thus, the advertisement is general and not designed to indicate the searching out of any particular material, but only to suggest the noumenal aspect of the illusion. Questioner, you said that some of the landings at this time were of the Orion Group. Why did the Orion Group land here? What is their purpose? RA. Their purpose is conquest, unlike those of the Confederation who wait for the calling. The so-called Orion Group calls itself to conquest. As we have said previously, their objective is to locate certain mind/body/spirit complexes which vibrate in resonance with their own vibrational complex, then to enslave the unelite, as you may call those who are not of the Orion vibration. Questioner, was the landing at Pascagoula in 1973 when Charlie Hickson was taken aboard this type of landing? RA. The landing of which you speak was what you would call an anomaly. It was neither the Orion influence nor our peoples in thought form, but rather a planetary entity of your own vibration which came through quarantine in all innocence in a random landing. Questioner, what did they do to Charlie Hickson when they took him on board? RA. They used his mind/body/spirit complex as life experience, concentrating upon the experience of the complexes of what you call war. Questioner, how did they use them? RA. The use of experience is to learn. Consider a race who watches a movie. It experiences a story and identifies with the feelings, perceptions, and experiences of the hero. Questioner, was Charlie Hickson originally of the same social memory complex of the ones who picked him up? RA. This entity of vibratory sound complex did not have a connection with those who used him. Questioner, did those who used him use his war experiences to learn more of the law of one? RA. This is correct. Questioner, did the entities who picked him up have the normal configuration? His description of them was rather unusual. RA. The configuration of their beings is their normal configuration. The unusualness is not remarkable. We ourselves, when we chose a mission among your peoples, needed to study your peoples, for had we arrived in no other form than our own, we would have been perceived as light. Questioner, what density were the entities who picked up Charlie Hickson from? IMRA. The entities in whom you show such interest are third density beings of a fairly advanced order. We should express the understanding to you that these entities would not have used the mind/body/spirit complex, Charlie, except for the resolve of this entity before incarnation to be of service. Questioner, what was the home or origin of the entities who picked up Charlie? IMRA. These entities are of the Sirius galaxy. Questioner, would it be possible for any of us to have contact with the Confederation in a more direct way? IMRA. In observing the distortions of those who underwent this experiential sequence, we decided to gradually back off, shall I say, from direct contact in thought form. The least distortion seems to be available in mind-to-mind communication. Therefore, the request to be taken aboard is not one we care to comply with. You are most valuable in your present orientation. May we ask at this time if you have a needed short query before we end this session? Questioner, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable? IMRA. The instrument is well balanced. It is possible to make small corrections in the configuration of the spine of the instrument that it be straighter. Continue also to continually monitor the placement and orientation of the symbols used. This particular session, the sensor is slightly off and, therefore, this instrument will experience a slight discomfort. Questioner, is the sensor off in respect to angle or in respect to lateral displacement? IMRA. There is an approximate 3 degrees displacement from proper perpendicularity. IMRA. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. 113. The Law of One, Book I, Session 9. January 27, 1981. IMRA. I greet you in the love and the light of our infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner, the healing exercises that you gave us are of such a nature that it is best to concentrate on a particular exercise at a certain time. I would like to ask what exercise that I should concentrate on tonight? IMRA. Again, to direct your judgment is an intrusion upon your space/time continuum distortion called future. To speak of past or present within our distortion/judgment limits is acceptable. To guide rather than teach/learn is not acceptable to our distortion in regards to teach/learning. We, instead, can suggest a process whereby each chooses the first of the exercises given in the order in which we gave them, which you, in your discernment, feel is not fully appreciated by your mind/body/spirit complex. This is the proper choice, building from the foundation, making sure the ground is good for the building. We have assessed for you the intensity of this effort in terms of energy expended. You will take this in mind and be patient, for we have not given a short or easy program of consciousness learn/teaching. Questioner, the way that I understand the process of evolution is that our planetary population has a certain amount of time to progress. This is generally divided into 3 25,000-year cycles. At the end of 75,000 years, the planet progresses itself. What caused this situation to come about with the preciseness of the years in each cycle? IMRA. Visualize, if you will, the particular energy which, outward flowing and inward coagulating, formed the tiny realm of the creation governed by your Council of Saturn. Continue seeing the rhythm of this process. The living flow creates a rhythm which is as inevitable as one of your timepieces. Each of your planetary entities began the first cycle when the energy nexus was able in that environment to support such mind/body experiences. Thus, each of your planetary entities is on a different cyclical schedule, as you might call it. The timing of these cycles is a measurement equal to a portion of intelligent energy. This intelligent energy offers a type of clock. The cycles move as precisely as a clock strikes your hour. Thus, the gateway from intelligent energy to intelligent infinity opens regardless of circumstance on the striking of the hour. Questioner, the original, first entities on this planet, what was their origin? Where were they before they were on this planet? IMRA. The first entities upon this planet were water, fire, air, and earth. Questioner: where did the people who are like us who were the first ones here, where did they come from? From where did they evolve? IMRA. You speak of third density experience. The first of those to come here were brought from another planet in your solar system called by you the red planet, Mars. This planet's environment became inhospitable to third density beings. The first entities, therefore, were of this race, as you may call it, manipulated somewhat by those who were guardians at that time. Questioner: what race is that, and how did they get from Mars to here? IMRA. The race is a combination of the mind/body/spirit complexes of those of your so-called red planet and a careful series of genetical adjustments made by the guardians of that time. These entities arrived, or were preserved, for the experience upon your sphere by a type of birthing which is non-reproductive, but consists of preparing genetic material for the incarnation of the mind/body/spirit complexes of those entities from the red planet. Questioner: I assume from what you are saying that the guardians transferred the race here after the race had died from the physical as we know it on Mars. Is that correct? IMRA. This is correct. Questioner: the guardians were obviously acting within an understanding of the law of one in doing this. Can you explain the application of the law of one in this process? IMRA. The law of one was named by these guardians as the bringing of the wisdom of the guardians in contact with the entities from the red planet, thus melding the social memory complex of the guardian race and the red planet race. It, however, took an increasing amount of distortion into the application of the law of one from the viewpoint of other guardians, and it is from this beginning action that the quarantine of this planet was instituted, for it was felt that the free will of those of the red planet had been abridged. Questioner: were the entities of the red planet following the law of one prior to leaving the red planet? IMRA. The entities of the red planet were attempting to learn the laws of love, which form one of the primal distortions of the law of one. However, the tendencies of these people towards bellicose actions caused such difficulties in the atmospheric environment of their planet that it became inhospitable for third density experience before the end of its cycle. Thus, the red planet entities were unharvested and continued in your illusion to attempt to learn the law of love. Questioner: how long ago did this transfer occur from the red planet to Earth? IMRA. In your time, this transfer occurred approximately 75,000 years ago. Questioner: 75,000 years ago? IMRA. This is approximately correct. Questioner: were there any entities of the form that I am now, 2 arms, 2 legs, on this planet before this transfer occurred? IMRA. There have been visitors to your sphere at various times for the last 4 million of your years, speaking approximately. These visitors do not affect the cycling of the planetary sphere. It was not third density in its environment until the time previously mentioned.